Okay, so 2D classification is done. If you remember from the last video, I left with an MPI error. The reason I found it was because I was using a scratch directory when I shouldn't have been. But that's RELION. You just kind of have to work your way through that. So we finished on this job, which was job number 10, or it was really 9, but I reran it as 10. And we want to now examine our class averages, and you can do that with one of two ways. You can come here to display and then look at your output as run, which will be iteration 25 model.star. You can just click on that and display your particles, or you can go directly to subset selection, which I usually do when I know I'm going to be selecting particles, and you can input your 2D classification job, again the iteration 25 model.star file, and you can run that. And I've already done that with job 11, and you'll be greeted with the RELION display GUI, and you have a couple options here. So one, you can adjust the scale, you can adjust the contrast of your class averages. Usually the default settings are good. If you bin, your particles get smaller and smaller. So now we're working with a box size of 100. If we used scale of 2 or 3, they might be, kind of obnoxiously large to look at, or they might fill up the entire screen. So for now, 1 is good. You can always play with this by closing out your class averages and reopening them. The next thing is you have the option to display different types of images. For 2D classification, we only want to look at our reference image. For our distribution, we can sort the class averages based on the estimated resolution, or what I usually prefer is the in-class distribution, which represents the number of particles attributed to each class average. And I like to reverse sort those so that the highest number of particles grouped into a class average are displayed first. And we can display from there and leave everything else the same. And this is what we see. So it looks like we have 4 good class averages. And remember, we used 50 classes initially, and RELION didn't even use all 50. It really just used 14. Let's go back to the top, and we can right-click and examine the quality of each one of these classes. And I usually like to right-click and then say show metadata of this class, and you'll get information that there are 4,000 particles in this class. You'll see something about the estimated resolution, which is 12.6 in this case, which isn't too bad given that we're binned by 4 and we lose resolution every time we bin. The biggest problem I see is that this class is offset a little bit from the center, and that can be adjusted later on using a recentering program, which will be another video. So we can select each one of these and then right click, and then we can look at the metadata, or in this case, because I'm pretty confident I'm just going to use these, I'm going to say save selected classes, and now I'll be done. I can exit out of that, and since I saved classes, my selection job will be moved to the finished category, and that is how you select classes in RELION. The next video will be re-extracting the particles, and then we will move on to ab initio reconstruction.